There's a great story in the Bible that I love that tells us a story about a guy who really screws this up. And if you like to follow along, you can. But we're going to be in 1 Kings chapter 12, verses 6 through 14. Now, let me give you a little background information on what's going on here, okay? We got a guy named Rehoboam. And Rehoboam just stepped into, his father passed away. He just stepped into the king position, okay? He's king now, okay? And early on into his position as king, some people approach him and they say, hey, listen, dude, your dad put a heavy burden on us, okay? He was kind of harsh on us. The working conditions weren't that good, unrealistic expectations, all of that. Would you consider, because you're king now, you're the man now, would you consider lightening that load on us? And if you do, we'll serve you. So Rehoboam says, listen, I got to think about this and go away for 3 days and come back to me. And I'll tell you in 3 days what my answer is. And we're going to pick up the story right there and see what happens. It says in verse 6, then King Rehoboam consulted the elders who had served his father Solomon during his lifetime. How would you advise me to answer these people, he asked. So what's going on there, okay? Let's get that in plain English. What happened is Rehoboam came across a decision that he had to make that he knew he couldn't make on his own. So he did the right thing. He went and asked for advice. And not just anybody, he consulted the elders who had served his father. These elders were experienced in this stuff. He's new at it. He didn't know much about it. Great decision. Let's see what they say. In verse 7 says, they replied, if today you will be a servant to these people and serve them and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your servants. So what's their answer to him? Listen, if you're nice to them, if you're favorable to them, dude, what do you have to lose? Lighten up the load on them, make the working conditions a little better. No harm, it's great. And they will be your servants forever. You're never going to have to worry about these guys. They will faithfully serve you. That's what they tell him. Check out this bonehead move. Verse 8, but Rehoboam rejected the advice the elders gave him and consulted the young men who had grown up with him and were serving him. This thing just took a turn for the worst. Do you know why? Did you pick out what he's doing there? He goes and he talks to the elders, and they tell him what to do. They give him advice. He rejects it, and he goes to, what does it say? It says he consulted the young men who had grown up with him. What's another word for that? You got it. You guys are on. We're on the same page tonight. Friends. He went and talked to his friends. And you know what I think? The Bible doesn't say this, but I think Rehoboam knew. How many in here, if we're being honest, know the friends that you can go to who are going to tell you what you want to hear? We know. And if we're being real honest, our preference quite often is to go to them. Because we want to hear what we want to hear. We don't want to hear what we need to hear all the time. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? So let's see. Okay, so this is where it takes a turn for the worse. Rehoboam makes a bonehead move. He rejects the advice of the elders, and he goes and talks to his buddies. Listen to what these, I don't know if I can say idiots in here, but listen to what they say, okay? The young men who had grown up with him. This is what they said. Tell these people who have said to you, your father put a heavy yoke on us, which means that he was hard on them, but make our yoke lighter, make things easier on us. Tell them this. Listen to this. Listen to these guys, these jokers. My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid on you a heavy yoke. I will make it heavier. Right? Listen to this. These guys are out of control. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions. This is what his friends tell him to go tell these people. Did you catch that? I mean, do you hear what they're saying? They're saying, look, dude, you're the man now. You're the king. Don't listen to these guys. Don't be having that. You need to set the standard from right now. Let them know how you do. And what you're going to tell them is, you think my dad was bad? I'm bad. I'm bad. He didn't have anything on my little pinky. You think his working conditions were hard? You think he was hard on you? I'm going to be 100 times harder on you. He whipped you with whips. I'm going to whip you with scorpions. That's heavy. That's just mean, isn't it? You guys are knuckleheads in here. Listen to this. Not you guys, these guys. So check this out. 3 days later, they come back. And Rehoboam says, or the Bible rather says, the king answered the people, talking about Rehoboam, harshly. So what does that mean? Who did he listen to? His friends. You guys are on. You're tracking. He listened to his friends. And then it tells us right there in the end of the verse, rejecting the advice given him by the elders. One of the all-time bonehead moves ever. right there in Scripture. What went right in that situation? He was facing a situation that he wasn't really sure about, didn't know what to do. He was new to this thing. So he goes and he says, okay, I'm going to go seek advice from the elders who are experienced, who know what they're doing. He goes and he talks to them. And they tell him the honest truth. What went wrong? What do you think went wrong? He didn't evaluate what he was told. Accountability. Accountability. We talked about that. What does accountability have to do with asking about advice? Well, it has to do with you being able to process through your filter for decision making whether that advice is right or wrong, good or bad. He did not process what he was told. He wasn't holding himself accountable. He ignored the wise counsel of the elders who were more experienced. His friends didn't know anything about what he was doing. They didn't have all the information. They couldn't see the big picture. They knew exactly what he knew. And I'm telling you, sometimes that's where we fall in a trap, because a lot of times, you guys, our friends know just as much as we do about a situation. Right? I mean, there's not some great enlightening that happens in them when we go to them and ask them for advice that all of a sudden, like, boom, they know the answer and they give it to us. No. Oftentimes, they know just as much as we do. And I believe this. He heard what he wanted to hear. I think that guy made up his decision before he even went and talked to him. He just didn't get the advice he wanted with the elders. The old people didn't tell him what he wanted to hear, so he went and he talked to his buddies. And they said, go, man, drop the hammer on him. Let him know what's up. Let him know who's boss. Consequences? How many of you know that there's consequences to every decision we make? Every hand should go up. We know that. There's consequences to every decision we make. Consequences, a nation became divided. Now listen, I fully understand that none of us in this room are probably ever in our lifetime going to make a decision. We might, ever going to make a decision that divides a nation. But we will make a decision that will have very real consequences in our life. It could divide other things. We can make decisions that divide households. We can make decisions that divide friendships. We can make decisions that divide relationships. We will make those kind of decisions. We will. So what does this mean? Because I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you are thinking, well, Bill, does this mean I don't ask my friends for advice? That's just unrealistic. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you only go ask the old people for advice, right? Because if we're being honest, sometimes old people give bad advice too. Yeah? I thought for sure you guys would agree with that. That's not what I'm saying. Don't fall into the trap of rejecting that Rehoboam did. That's what I'm saying. I have a question for you. Have you ever thought about what your filter is for decision making? Okay, let me ask you. Why did you decide to wear those boots tonight? Sound like a good idea. Why did you do your hair that way? Sure. Because it's cute? Okay. What did you eat for breakfast? Cereal? Why did you decide cereal? It's the first thing I saw. Okay, so check this out. Here's what I'm hearing. We like to make decisions without really thinking about, and I'm not saying just you guys, I'm saying me too. It's in our nature. We like to make decisions without thinking about what the process is for filtering, whether it's a right or wrong decision, right? Sometimes we're just on autopilot if we want to be honest about it. Sometimes that happens. What's your filter for decision making? There's got to be one. If there's not, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to find yourself in trouble. You're going to end up in a situation just like Rehoboam did, where you've got good advice and you've got bad advice. And because it's what you want to hear, you're going to go down that road with the bad advice, and it's going to come back to bite you. In Luke 6:40 in the Bible, Jesus said, a student is not above his teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like his teacher. Think about that. I have questions for you students. Everybody look at me. Who's your teacher? No, you don't have to answer. Think about it. I don't mean you're literally your teacher at school. Think about it this way. Who's giving you advice? I hear some names flying around out there. Students, who are you letting pour into your life? Let me ask you a question. Do you realize what that scripture's saying? But everyone who is fully trained will be like his teacher. Do you know what that scripture's saying? It's saying whoever you're letting pour into your lives, you're going to be like them. Did you catch that? Whoever you're letting pour into your lives, you're going to be like them. So if you're letting good people pour into your life, you're going to be like them. If you're letting bad people pour into your life, you're going to be like them. If you're letting dumb people pour into your life, you're going to be like them. That's what that scripture is telling you. So the question to you is, who are you letting pour into your life? And what is your filter for decision making? Think about it.